Who's loving him all? Yeah. Let's go for the close.
Okay, I got my push, and I can see that it's started the game with Adanac versus Fritzlein, and Adanac has set up and has already started moving. We have a gold elephant going at E5, and so he started the traditional EH. Fritz, playing silver, has set up the asymmetrical Fritz setup, so he's got the camel on the west and the two horses on the east. Let's see, is my co-commentator online, Omar?
Yeah, I'm here, Ned. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. And hopefully my push to talk does not have as much noise in the background as I had in previous games.
Okay, so it looks like it's going to be a pretty interesting game.
Right. This is a premier game. You got your speaker on? No, you don't. Now you don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Premier game between two of the top players. Fritz, former two-time world champion. Adanac has always been a contender, always been a top player, and currently is the only player left in the tournament who has not lost. I normally expect from Adanac a very aggressive opening, very attacking style. Fritzlein, we should expect he prefers a more conservative style, although he has told us that he wants to learn how to be more of an attacking player and has been trying to do so this past year. Interesting to see who goes on the attack first. Fritz with the two horses on the east. Now I think what he can do with that is that he can pull a horse. He can, let's say the G3 horse. Used to be you pulled that and you just help your opponent with the EH attack, but with two horses on the side, that provides enough protection so that the EH is very hard to initiate against those two horses. So I think that's what Fritz has in mind.
Yeah, he did that to me in one game, and once you get your horse stuck, there, like say on the G5 square, it's really hard to get it out, and then you end up having to have your elephant staying there just to keep the horse protected, and really messes things up.
It's almost like a frame not on a trap. He's able to hem in your horse there. And yes, he's done it to me too. He's done it to lots of people, which is why he keeps doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It works pretty well too.
Adanac, after 4G, has moved his camel to F3, which is now on the same side of the horses. But I think this is what you need to do. You need to get that camel near the horses so that the horses are not as effective.
Yeah, definitely, and I hope Adanac is more careful with his camel than I usually am, so that it doesn't get taken hostage. Because then, that's the other thing you have to be careful of, because those horses could end up sort of being like a bait. And then once you get your camel over there, then the elephant comes and, maybe takes it hostage. And that's usually what ends up happening to me.
Right now we have the gold camel is in danger of being taken on the trap, so gold is going to need to do something to make that safe. Also, silver is threatening to flip gold's G3 horse and into that mini frame. Adanac now on 5G has retreated, and has not fallen into the trap that both Omar and I frequently fall into.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a good thing that Adanac pulled the horse back to G2 instead of, say, like to H3, because if it was on H3, I think that elephant would pull it up to H4, and then on the following move, then flip it over to G5, and then so it would be stuck in there again. So it was a very smart move for Adanac to pull it back instead of to the side.
The only way that Gold could have gotten out of that is to move the elephant all the way over to H5, taking it well away from the center and being positionally inferior. Fritz gets a rabbit pull 5S. I think I'll mention at this point, Omar, that Adanac is the only one who is undefeated. And if he wants to stay undefeated, he's really going to have to win this game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's quite amazing that both Fritzlein and Chesingo have lost one game each in the preliminaries. That's usually, well, I'm not exactly sure, but it might have happened before, but it's usually not common for one of these top players to lose in the preliminaries, unless, of course, they're playing each other sometimes. But, yeah, so that upset that Adanac did was, quite amazing. So if he pulls off something like that against Fritzlein here, that would be just, an amazing situation for Adanac to be going in the finals with 2 wins against the top 2 players. So
that would be a great achievement. Now, I think if Adanac wants to, if he remains undefeated, then I think he can win this tournament.
Yeah, he certainly would prove that he is capable of, defeating the very top players. So I think he would have a very good shot at winning the tournament,
especially if he remains undefeated. So now what we have here is Gold has created kind of a clog on the east side so that the horse trying to penetrate can't penetrate because Adanac has put rabbits and a camel in the way. So we may have a mini kind of standoff happening early in the game.
Yeah, perhaps the gold elephant being on G5 is probably to prevent the horse from pulling the rabbit back 2 steps, and so yeah, okay, so he let it go. So I guess he doesn't care if the rabbit gets pulled further then. But I think. Yeah, I think probably he might be thinking, okay, go ahead, pull the rabbit, and I'm going to go after the dog.
Yeah, the dog is in trouble. Fritz will have to use some steps to make that one safe. If you look at the setup now, Silver has a camel opposing a horse, so that's an advantage for Silver. And Silver has elephant on the same wing as a camel. So I'm looking at this thinking that Silver has achieved, at least in the preliminary, what he's trying for.
Yeah, you could kind of say that Silver is probably winning the opening here, and also having pulled a rabbit out to H4. I think that also probably add towards Silver's advantage.
I'm thinking that whoever wins or loses, I think both these players are going to get into the finals. So would you say they're playing for pride here?
Well, yeah, and also, you know, the other, the strength of, what do we call that, the SOS?
Strength of schedule.
Yeah, strength of schedule, right, thanks for filling that in. Yeah, so, you know, they don't want to, you know, they also want to help the players that they won against and things like that by, you know, trying to, you know, what the outcome of this game could have impact on some of the other players. So I think they're trying to help out in that way.
On 8G, Fritz, as Silver, did leave his dog next to the elephant, and it took Adanac only 13 seconds to flip it. So Silver is going to have to spend some of his tempo protecting the dog to keep it from going off sides. And there it goes. It's now being protected on the F6 trap.
Yeah, I mean,
there,
go ahead.
Okay, I was saying from there, now if you look at the position of the silver elephant, the dog is safe, so the silver or the gold elephant can't really do anything to the dog to cause any permanent threat to it. So that was a good way to defend against what gold was trying to do.
Okay, so gold is gonna start pulling the rabbit himself, I guess, because definitely that rabbit on H5 is pretty soon gonna start, you know, becoming a liability there. You might as well pull a rabbit also.
Right. Early rabbit pulls, especially on the edge when there are strong pieces, those that tend to become either hostages or get captured. And gold pulling a rabbit early in the game is trying to create a similar liability. And you can see after 9S, the rabbit has been pushed into the center on the F file. There really isn't, rabbits can't move backwards, so there's not much way to make that rabbit safe.
Yeah, I think this rabbit is either going to get framed or captured here pretty soon. Now the gold camel on H3, I'm wondering if since gold figures that he's going to be keeping his elephant there, maybe advance that camel and go in probably and maybe swarm on that side. I don't know. That's something I might consider.
See that as a possibility. If the camel goes too soon, then the elephant can follow it behind, and it becomes a hostage. So
Right.
in order for the camel to make some progress, there needs to be a way for it to remain fluid. I think it needs another piece over there, or usually you put rabbits all along the edge file so that the camel, in this case the H file, so that the camel can operate on the G file. But because the G file is now occupied by silver horses, it can be very hard for that gold camel to operate in there.
Yeah, so Adanac here is, I think, just going to let that rabbit go in order to pull out a silver rabbit for himself.
So in the rabbit race, we have silver in the lead with rabbits.
Probably should mention that camel is at threat right now, so silver probably has to take at least one step to get the camel over to B3.
Yeah, silver would really not like to lose that camel this early in the match.
So Fritzlein is thinking quite a bit here. getting into his reserve a little bit.
Yeah, you'd think somebody as good as Fritzlein wouldn't take so long for such an easy move, right? And there he made it. Now, silver position still has that rabbit sitting smack in the center. That's I think of that as a slight weakness, and that's what gold is trying to exploit now. But it's not nearly as weak as what silver had in taking gold's rabbit.
Yeah. Also, at this point, silver could stash that rabbit over to the H file, at least. You know, like maybe move the horses back and move the elephant over to F4 and then start moving that rabbit over to the edge.
Now, the thing I'm looking at is the gold camel on H3. It looks a little out of play. I know it is close to the silver horses, but it's looking way lonely out there on the edge. So that's a piece of the position that might be a slight disadvantage at this point. Who knows? Adanac has a way of taking things like that and turning them into advantages.
Now, one thing I was thinking is, you know, one thing silver might want to do here is allow gold to frame the rabbit. So, you know, maybe the silver elephant comes to, say, E3, and then let gold frame the silver rabbit, and then use that as an opportunity for the camel to maybe start trying to drag the horse back. But I don't think silver's going to go for that.
But I think in a way you're right, Omar, in that silver, because he's got that camel over there free on the west, is going to want to try to get some sort of deadlock with the elephants over in the east and involve the gold camel so that the silver camel can then dominate in the west.
Yeah, the gold camel is really, well, kind of tied up on this side here, you know, so with camels being on opposite sides, you prefer your camel to be on a side where the elephants aren't. And so in that sense, you know, this situation is a little bit better for silver, because the elephants are on the side where the gold camel is, and so the silver camel is a little bit more freer to roam around.
And I'm not sure about the gold horse on H6. The two silver horses seem like they can stop that horse from doing anything. It may be that gold simply wants to pull that rabbit out, but I'm not sure. This might be another advantage of having those two horses over there. It does not look like gold is going to get a good EH attack out of this, and I would expect that Fritz would take a defensive posture against that kind of attack.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe the other possibility might be that gold is preparing to advance the camel towards that side, and maybe wants the horse there as something to keep the camel, make it a little bit more slippery. But I probably might not be a good thing to go charging with the camel now, especially that this rabbit is out. That the silver rabbit is now, you know, sort of getting advanced here on the gold side.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of a future the gold camel has there as part of an attack, being so close to the silver elephant. So at this point, it looks as though that gold horse may be out of play. That may not be very bad if it requires two silver horses to keep it there. So again, this is something that's somewhat unusual. I'm not sure how this is going to play out.
Yeah, I like Gold's move that Gold just made. So that kind of, prevents the elephant from pulling up the Gold camel, having that rabbit on H4. Uh-oh.
And here comes the silver camel.
Yeah.
Is coming across and is going to try and stick to that gold horse, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that could become a problem now for Gold.
Yeah, Gold really doesn't want to lose that horse. It almost looks similar to the last game that we had before this evening, where we have horses, elephants, and camels all tied up in a small little space. We'll see if that continues.
Yeah, although it might not be too bad for Gold right now. So, Gold can now start thinking about framing that rabbit on F3. Also, it's probably not going to be very easy for the silver camel to get at that horse. But also the Gold elephant is there right by F6, so even if it does take it hostage, it'll be around to keep it safe. But then you have that Gold horse all by itself on the west wing, with no one else near it of that power. So Gold, I think, still has really good position here.
Interesting how that changes just a little bit. So where it looked as though I thought that the silver camel was going to be dominant over on the east, and Fritz decided to bring it over into this, on the west, and decided to bring it east into the contention. So that was different than what I thought he was going to do.
Yeah, although things are starting to change again, so now that silver horse on E6 could easily go over to the west wing and keep things safe there, while the elephant or the camel can now easily get to the Gold horse. So things, in just one move are starting to change quite a bit here.
Yeah, I suppose in Arimaa every move counts, and these top players, they know that they need to use every move.
Yeah, and in these tight kind of situations, it's kind of hard to figure out like what might be a good move, because there's so much tactics and possibilities of blockades and framings and things like that going on, that you really have to be careful.
Yeah, I have a tough time in positions like this figuring out what's good. There's so many possibilities. I think there are lots of bad moves on the board. It's hard to find the good ones. And maybe there aren't any really good moves. It's avoiding the bad ones.
Yeah, definitely. So Adanac looks like he's thinking here quite a bit here. I think I would be too in this kind of situation. I'm not sure what to do. I think he's realizing that his horse that he advanced earlier is probably gotten itself into a little bit of trouble now.
So I wonder, would it be bad to try a partial frame of the rabbit at this point?
Maybe, because of that horse on E6, because once you frame it, you're going to probably need a cat or a dog over on E3 to hold that frame, but then you've got that horse now that can just come in and break that. So so even framing it might become a liability. Okay, so
I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean. There's a power vacuum in gold's position on E3 and D3, and the question would be whether silver is going to take a horse and move it in there.
Yeah, so if gold does frame that, wants to maintain that frame, I think gold is gonna have to bring the horse on B3 over to hold that frame. Otherwise, that'll be easily breakable, and if you break that, then you've got this advanced rabbit, and potentially, you risk F3 being invaded. So it could cause a lot of havoc on gold's side, while at the same time you've got the camel on silver's side, ready to pounce on that horse.
If the horse does come down to E3, then what do you think silver should do to counter? Should he bring the elephant over, or should he block it from behind by putting rabbits on E1? Well, I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, so I think the gold elephant is going to get overloaded here pretty soon, because now there's possibilities of F3 getting completely invaded if that elephant decides to push the camel off, and then the silver camel now is also right next to the gold horse there. So it's a bit of a tough situation here for gold. I think maybe what I might do is just flip that silver camel back over to the gold side, so just to keep it away from that gold horse, and then suddenly the gold horse is strong again on the silver side.
That's an interesting idea. So he decided to bring the elephant and do the block. If he did the flip, a move that I was worried about with silver is silver pushing the gold camel to H3 with the elephant and setting up what might in the future be a gold threat. But I don't think he can do that now, because he'll either, I don't know if he'll lose the horse on the next move, but the elephant can go to E3 and really cause a real frame of that rabbit.
Yeah, I think they might end up just trading off horses here, where I think silver will probably pull up the gold horse to H6, and then gold might capture the silver horse, and silver captures the gold horse. So I think we might see a horse trade coming up, because I don't think there's much room for gold to, or for silver to really try to save that horse.
And Fritzlein is taking a little bit of time here. I guess so, because this is going to determine whether he sustains an attack or goes for an exchange. If he goes for an exchange, then it's as if the attack is over.
Yeah, if they do go for an exchange, I think gold might come out better out of that exchange, because then that rabbit would be better framed on F3, and then gold elephant would be more free to roam around.
And that looks like what's going to happen, and Adanac agrees.
Yeah, it only took 11 seconds to make that move. So expect silver here to just flip the gold horse into F6.
So what happened to that horse when it went into the trap. It looked like it spun around and fell. But what happens to a horse that goes into a trap?
They go into vertigo, I guess.
Well, there aren't spikes at the bottom, are there?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Spikes maybe covered with feces or something to make sure they get infected.
Oh boy.
Well, something else I worried about. What if there is no bottom to the? I mean, a horse that I trapped several weeks ago in a previous game. Are you telling me it might still be falling?
Yeah, it could be like falling into the abyss or something here. So, but Gold's position is actually looking pretty good here now.
We got a framed rabbit.
Right, and the gold elephant is just absolutely free to roam around. It's also threatening to invade C6. Boy,
and look at that horse on B3 about ready to go to C6.
Yeah, exactly. So, wow. Somehow Adanac managed to pull out of that situation pretty good, I think. So we'll see what Fritzlein comes up with here in this kind of situation.
Yeah, we didn't talk about what was going to happen around C6 after the exchange, but it very much appears that Adanac knew what was going to happen. Now the move that Fritz made on 18S is trying to diffuse the sting of an EH attack over there. I wonder if Adanac is going to do it anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Fritz is expecting that horse to come in, move into, say, like maybe B6 or something, and this is just sort of like prepping up for that to happen. So that
he does it.
Yeah, and so Fritz is going to have to at least step that rabbit on C6 forward, and then that rabbit's going to become quite vulnerable.
Right, I think I see the dog going to C4 if he does that.
I think with some of the other steps on this move, if I was Silver, I might consider pulling that rabbit on H4 more towards the Silver side, just so that if later on the elephant decides to pull up the camel, letting go of the rabbit on F3, then you at least maybe have a bit of a possibility of, say, threatening to take the camel hostage. But I don't.
Something else that Silver might try to do, if he can take that H4 rabbit, is push those other rabbits and actually try for a goal threat on the side. But it looks like what Silver has done now is really trying to address this EH attack, and making sure that there's something on C5 to protect him against it.
Yeah, Silver is kind of preparing for that rabbit on C5 to get pushed more towards the gold side, and so that Silver horse is maybe preparing to come to the rescue. But it's going to be tough, because that gold elephant being completely free like that is going to make it tough.
I'm thinking that Silver's going to have to abandon that F3 rabbit. I think he's got to go away and bring the elephant back.
Yeah, I agree with you. Might have to do that pretty soon.
I see some, especially beginner players, who refuse to leave a frame like that, and as a result end up taking heavy losses elsewhere. So part of being a top player is knowing when to just give up on something that you can't save in order to free up your better pieces.
Yeah, I'm wondering if on this move Silver could maybe get the horse over to C5 and the rabbit over to B5, using the camel to unfreeze the horse as it passes by the elephant. That might buy Silver some more time.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I can't quite visualize whether that's going to cause a lot of trouble. I think in response, Gold would be able to reposition the dog so that the dog continues to ultimately threaten the rabbit on C3 while the horse is protecting the EH attack against C6.
Yeah, this is going to get into a pretty complicated game here if these two players, both, they're sort of, the elephants are both sort of on opposite wings. Oh, okay, this is an interesting move. Wow.
What was unexpected about that is that he's got, in order to use something to protect, or in order to use one of those pieces to reframe the rabbit, probably requires the D3 cat. And of course, Gold can't do that because then that would make him lose the dog on that's on C4 right now. So that's a inventive move.
Yeah, I think probably Gold might need to use the rabbit on E2 to unfreeze the cat, push it back on the trap, and then use one of the other rabbits on the west wing to make the C3 trap safe again. So he couldn't get out of it, but the thing is that horse is sort of slipped in onto the Gold side now, and can further start trying to break that frame, around that rabbit on F3. So.
And something else that's good about what Silver did is that the Gold elephant can't come down right away and help out because of the position of the Gold horse on B6 and the Silver camel on E6.
Right, he can't just abandon that because that would actually be an immediate capture if the elephant left from there.
Interesting how Fritz was able to take what looked like a strong attack by his opponent and turn that position against him.
Yeah,
you might say that this is one of the things that Fritz can put in his next book. So he didn't put it in his first book.
Yeah, he's very good at diffusing that invasion. Otherwise, that move that he did where the cat and the rabbits advanced forward, that really helped to diffuse the invasion. Otherwise, if you had a situation where you hadn't done that, right now, that C6 square would have just been, totally belonging to Gold, and the pieces would have to be scattering from there, and the game would feel like it's just crumbling right now if he hadn't done that.
Right. You described what exactly would have happened to me if I were playing this position.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me too before. And I'm actually not that good at diffusing those invasions. But these top players know how to handle those situations much better.
Adanac on 21G is down to 33 seconds.
Wow. Oh, nice move there by Gold.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see that before, because generally in an EH attack, when the opposing elephant or opposing camel is coming to try and stick to the horse, you try to block the path with the opposing guy's rabbits, which Adanac has done right there. And but I wasn't thinking about it in this case because the geometry is slightly different. So good for Adanac for recognizing the fundamental here.
Yeah, although I think that horse might have to start leaving from there sooner or later. I don't know how long it can stick around there, because you know, I still see that camel definitely wanting to move towards that side. And yeah, oh wow, I hadn't even considered the elephant crossing through F3 here.
I didn't see that either. I'm sure everybody on the chat saw that, even though they aren't saying anything. So this position now, all of a sudden, the east side for Gold seems to be crumbling. And if you notice, there's a goal threat there too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. You know, if Gold does nothing, that's a goal in one right now for Silver. So Gold has to do something to prevent that goal in one, and also do something to make that Silver or the Gold camel safe. Okay, I think that was a good move by Gold.
I was thinking of something like that. I think what I was looking at was a move that would advance the E2 rabbit up there. So it does stop the Silver elephant. I think I wanted the Gold elephant still sticking to the Silver horse on D4. So we'll see. I was going to see if I couldn't maintain all the threats that Gold had in getting out of the jam. But if he gets out of the jam at all, then again, I very much admire Gold's play. And I admire Silver's play for getting into that problem in the first place.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that actually this position is getting even better for Gold right now, because now that elephant, you know, kind of being stuck framing the, you know, with the Silver rabbit framed, and the elephant being stuck so deep here in Gold's side, I think that's an even worse position for the elephant to be in. So Silver has to definitely try to put something behind that rabbit, but you know, with the elephant being on this side right now, that's going to be difficult.
I'm thinking that, well, I was thinking the Silver horse might advance forward, but instead Silver is threatening the horse on B5. And that doesn't last very long.
Yeah, Adanac moved in 13 seconds on that.
He should wait so we have some time to comment on the move.
I hope he's not listening to the comments. not that there was our comments would really help them much, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how our comments are going to help either of these two players.
I think they'd be more distracting than anything else. So right now on this move, Gold could capture a rabbit in C3 if Silver doesn't do something to prevent that. Okay, so Silver is now advancing the camel deeper into Gold territory.
False protection.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, I always tend to miss those.
Yeah, Adanac will see it. So Adanac will probably advance one of the rabbits, maybe the seaflower rabbit. But as far as what to do, one of the things I was looking at was a way for Silver to advance the horse by pushing 2 cats and end up on E3. Gold has blocked that, but now there's this false protection issue. And it almost looks as though Silver is now blocked from protecting C3. So there's this fight for C3, and that Silver camel could prove to be very powerful if the gold elephant can't get over there.
Yeah, and even if the gold elephant does get over there and starts maybe taking the silver camel hostage, Silver would then be able to at least get some pieces behind the rabbit on F3. So, you know, that I think Silver is trying to distract the gold elephant to get over to the west wing here.
And yeah, in a way, I think that's a weakness in the gold position if the elephant has to be a sentry on F4. So move I'm looking at right now is move, well, I was going to move the cat to B3 and then push the elephant and the horse down. Adanac did it slightly differently.
Yeah, here I think Silver is probably just going to start advancing a lot of pieces now forward on the west wing.
Or even on the east wing.
Yeah, but well, right now Silver has to do something to keep that horse safe. So I expect the camel will at least move forward one step.
Oh, I see the problems because if even if the camel goes one step. Okay, so at this point, this is 25G. What happens if the elephant pushes the horse down? I guess the silver rabbit actually that's sitting on C5 can come forward temporarily, but this may become very sharp.
Yeah, it is getting into a really, really complex position here. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if for gold, pushing that a horse down to D2 would probably be a really good move right now. He'll probably end up having to let Silver get a piece behind the rabbit on F3, but still, it might be worth it.
Now, this is hard to gauge. If the dog goes on F4, then there are enough pieces that Silver can use to back it up, so that it's possible that the dog can stay essentially on F4. And not sure what would happen here. I think what gold needs to get its own version of a goal threat going. Silver has its goal threat, gold doesn't have one, and Silver's getting power because of that.
Right. If gold isn't able to diffuse the situation a bit, Silver's advance could become a liability for gold here. But you know, I think threatening that camel right now would probably be a good thing, but gold passed up on that. I think gold wanted to safeten up that east wing a little bit first.
Silver has a number of things that it might want to try, but I think the dog on C4 is going to be one of the things it's going to do. He may be looking at the possibility of. No, I don't think so. He's not going to move the elephant aside and advance the rabbit because the dog on F1 will just go forward with it.
Right now, I mean, you know, Fritz might be considering the possibility of moving the dog to F4 and then using the elephant to push the camel back towards the silver side, perhaps, you know, to eventually maybe take that camel hostage or something.
I was looking at that. I don't think he wants to do that because of all that power down on F1 and E1. I think it would just, so he did that differently. What do you think of that, Omar?
I don't know if that was maybe such a good thing because I think Gold probably wanted to move that rabbit on G1 up to G2 so that Gold could eventually get that rabbit on G3 and then push away the dog with the camel, and then, you know, then the elephant would definitely have been framed, or that rabbit would have definitely been framed with no way to get out. But Adanac quickly flipped the rabbit off the F3 square and just wanted to sort of get rid of the possibility of any kind of a goal threat here.
So on 26S, the thing I see Gold wanting to do after this, if nothing happens, is pushing that horse down to D2. Silver has stopped that with that move, and so now there's another threat against the camel.
Yeah, I think that was a good move by Silver. That makes it harder for Gold now to threaten anything around C3, and also creates, Silver has created a threat of his own around F3 now. So Gold is going to have to at least maybe put that cat on F4, and it's very vulnerable sitting out there on F4. There's the dog could later on push it towards F6. So things might be turning around. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I'm trying to think of a way that Gold can make both of those trap areas safe. And it looks like, to me this looks like he's just going to throw pieces at the F3 area and use the elephant in the C3 area. And maybe that's good enough. However, what I'm seeing is silver rabbits are coming forward. Silver pieces are around the traps in Gold's area. And so from possibly a very strategic area, I see Silver forward, and Silver's not going to let go of these traps after this. I say big advantage Silver here. Now that I've said that, let's see Gold pull this one out.
Yeah, I definitely see Silver maybe pushing that rabbit on C2 over to D2 with the horse and advancing at least that rabbit on C5 forward.
Yeah, the C5 rabbit is looking very dangerous to me right now.
Well, not quite what I expected, but this is probably a much safer move, though. This is going to get Silver at least a cat, I think, eventually.
Yeah, it was very much like what you were saying. That cat was vulnerable. Silver is taking some advantage of that. Silver now has the luxury, I think, of using the dog on D6, which wasn't really doing much. Maybe protecting D6, and now it has an opportunity to participate in taking the cat. Additionally, around C3, there's two major pieces in a rabbit getting mighty close to an ill-defended goal. Watch out for that.
Ned, your voice is sort of fluctuating a little bit, getting louder and softer. I'm wondering if maybe your microphone connection is a little loose or something.
Well, I'm checking it, and it looks okay here. How is this speech?
A little bit better, I think. It still seems to be fluctuating a little bit.
Maybe it's the push to talk. And maybe it's, I've got this Vista operating system that always does stuff in the background, presumably to help me, but it never does seem to actually help.
Well, I think that Cat is pretty much toasted now. So can Girl try to get anything in compensation for that? That gold horse is sort of out of position, isn't it? Sitting over there on A5 by itself, not really doing too much.
It doesn't seem to have anything to do. It could have trapped a rabbit and threatened a cat. But if it tries to do something like that, the silver camel can just come right back. So I think that camel has that horse covered, and you're right. As a result, it's out of play.
True, and I think earlier, if it would have done that, it would have been worse. But now that Gold has sort of taken the silver horse hostage here.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. So now if Gold does do something like that, and the camel goes back for the gold horse, then it'll probably end up being an exchange of horses, and I think that might actually be better for Gold.
Well, if that happens, there still seems to be no way to save the cat. And it looks as though Silver has bigger plans than just catching a cat. And if you're Gold and you're playing against Fritzlein, that's really bad.
Yeah, now things are getting a little bit tough here. I think Gold's really got to do something about that rabbit on C3. That rabbit is going to become an extreme liability pretty soon here. Yeah, that's probably the only thing.
And the horse comes back into play.
Yeah, but then that opens up that whole A file now for rabbits to advance down that line.
Interesting how many of the pieces are frozen, especially in the middle. It's like a tapestry.
Yeah. When you get situations like this, it gets really complicated and difficult to figure out all the tactics that are possible here. There's probably all sorts of things that we're missing that these players are thinking about that we're not even realizing. In these tactical situations like this, I just can't see everything. So.
With a lot of these pieces being frozen, there's one on the edge that might not be, and it can move and then unfreeze another, which can unfreeze another. So there are a lot of hidden possibilities. Now I think the word that I'm looking for, you've got a lot of these frozen animals in the middle, I'm going to call it a meat locker.
I like that.
So here we got a meat locker, lots of frozen animals.
That's a good one. Wow, I mean, Silver's position is really starting to look good now.
Yeah, I think so. He can go collect this rabbit on G5. I'm just looking at material. Silver has the luxury of collecting material. Silver material doesn't appear to be being threatened, and Silver has some legitimate goal opportunities. Like look at the A file, and there's only that camel protecting. I'm sorry, the H file. There's only that camel protecting against silver going down the H file. So silver really has a lot of things going for it.
Oh boy. So gold is losing piece after piece now.
And this is a typical Fritzlein middle breaking of a middle game, where he just starts taking all your pieces because he's built up these small advantages.
Yeah, I don't know what I would suggest here at all for gold. It's a really tough position to play right now. I might maybe want to move that horse back to where it was on C4, just so that something doesn't get behind that C3 rabbit. But if he does that, then you've got that dog on E4, which is very vulnerable to getting captured back into F6. So tough position here now for gold. For a while there, it looked like gold had some chances, but things kind of really fell apart, especially when silver started advancing the camel and horse on the west wing.
It seems like the key move was when silver was able to advance the silver horse along the D file behind gold's EH attack and really diffuse the EH attack. Ever since then, silver has had command of all the traps.
Right. Yeah, I don't see a lot of possibilities here for gold even still. I think perhaps on this move, silver might want to unfreeze the dog, advance it, unfreeze the horse, and then use the horse to push the gold rabbit on C2 over to B2, and then that kind of sets up a gold threat as well, and also threatens the capture of the horse, the gold horse.
Another thing silver might do is advance the rabbit on the H file, and just to spread gold a little bit thinner. Oh, and he did it.
Yep, good call there.
Yeah, it must be a good move because Fritzlein made it.
Definitely.
Pretty easily defended, but it does commit a gold dog. That must be a Labrador.
Yeah, at this point, I think silver can actually pull up that camel onto F4 and then step the rabbit on H3 over to G3. Well, I guess the dog on H1 would have to start coming up to take control of F3 again. That's even better. Now, wow. So gold is going to have to either his elephant is going to have to, defend F3 or defend C3. Which do you prefer? Tough.
But not both.
Yeah. I think it'll have to stay at C3. I think the camel might have to scatter a little, or not. It's going to get captured here, but I think gold is trying to maybe create some threat on the west wing. Will it be soon enough, though?
Yeah, I don't see how it can be soon enough. I think Silver has plenty of time. It doesn't feel good to take the opponent's camel. I always think that's one of the best parts of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free camel sitting there. Very tempting.
Very delicious camel.
Yeah, camels are good. I'd never miss an opportunity to take a camel, but I don't know. I think Fritzlein might want to do some calculations here just to make sure that if he does take that, you know, he's probably gonna at least want to step back with the cat on B6, just so that it would require 4 steps then for Gold to do a capture. No, so he
or not.
yeah. So this isn't an immediate Gold threat. So I think Gold has time now to capture that cat on B6.
I was thinking about leaving a piece on C7. It might not have worked, but I was thinking of making it harder for Silver to protect against the little Gold threat that Gold has going.
Yeah, so suddenly I think that Camel might have to abandon C3 and go back there. What do you think? Otherwise, things are not looking very good around C6 for Silver.
They might have to bring it back. They can use the A8 rabbit somehow to block it.
Yeah. Okay. So Silver decided to do that, and
ooh, you can get another cat.
Yeah, or even a horse. But Gold has to be very careful about capturing pieces, because if you're too busy taking material, you might miss a possibility where now Silver can end up creating a very strong Gold threat again.
Yeah, Silver may. He's got those H-file rabbits, and so Silver may want to do something counterintuitive on his next move. I'm wondering what happens if he traps the rabbit on G2. Might be the best piece to take. I don't think that the dog can protect against the Gold threat over there.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I think Gold probably has to worry about keeping that F3 trap safe even more than worrying about letting go of that horse that he could have easily taken.
Now, I'm not sure I know how to protect against those. I mean, what would I do? I don't see pushing those rabbits with the dog. I don't see accomplishing anything. Oh, he's going to ignore it. Okay, so I'm thinking take the rabbit on G2 is the move for Silver.
Yeah, I think if that happens, then I don't know what Gold can do here to defend.
So here's the case where if Adanac wants to be the best. If you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. So he really doesn't want to lose this game because he wants to beat the best. So he needs to do something to win.
Ooh, that was different. So instead of capturing the rabbit, silver advances the elephant and backs it with the rabbit. Now, is this unstoppable? I think so.
Maybe unstoppable.
I'm just thinking it probably is, because otherwise Fritzlein probably would not have done something like that. So yeah, it looks like it's unstoppable. So there you have it. Wow. Goal in 38, actually 37S.
A 37-move game, and that's not a lot of moves, but I thought it was a well-played game, both sides.
Yeah, it was very tense, and both players playing through a really tactical position. It's kind of like walking through a mine or something. But yeah, so let's see if maybe we can get the players here. Wonder if maybe they're in the chat room or something. I'm not logged in the chat room.
Well, Adanac has been in the chat room the entire time. I forgot to log in.
Oops. So we probably might want to also thank our sponsors at this point.
Tell us who our sponsors are, Omar.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have Z-Man Games, who's our main sponsor, and also taking on developing the Arimaa sets, and we have Board Games for Us, also another sponsor, and of course the Arimaa community has contributed to the prize fund, and lots of players have shown up today to watch this game, and so definitely like to thank the players and the Arimaa fans for joining us. Hope you guys had a good time watching this game. Definitely a lot of fireworks in this game, and thank the players for putting on such an interesting show for us.
I think it's going to be very hard now for either player to go undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, all three of the top players have lost at least one game now in the preliminaries. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the finals.
Both players are talking in the chat room, and so maybe they'll come on and do an interview with us. Adanac is doing the update for TeamSpeak, which it's been asking me to do. I've been saying no. Anytime one of these things asks me to do an update, I usually can't use it for a few days before I figure out how to use the update.
well, I updated the server side, and then so that gets rid of an annoying message that was popping up if you did update the client. Can you fill us in a little bit on what they're saying in the chat room? Anything interesting
right
going
now
on there?
we have 99 is asking players if they want to do an interview. Fritzlein is unable to do so.
Can you guys hear me?
Have the hardware.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Adanac.
Oh, okay.
Well, congratulations on a well-played game. Unfortunately, it's a game you didn't win. What were your emotions when you did not win?
Well, luckily this wasn't a do or die game for me. Yeah, I did want to win pretty badly. I was hoping to go undefeated, but it's not the end of the world. Still looking forward to the next round. So it was a really exciting game. At least we made a good show for the spectators.
Do you have any other plans for maybe going undefeated in the future?
Well, I hope so. I have to learn a lot about the openings. That's 2 straight games I've been outplayed in the openings. It's nice to try to fight back, but I need to improve my opening so I'm not always fighting from behind.
Yeah, it looked to me like, I was saying that probably in the opening, Fritzlein got the upper hand, but then you did a really good job during the middle game of creating a lot of counterplay, and at one point, I was actually thinking that gold was looking very good. But then I think when silver started to advance the camel and horse on the west wing, things kind of got a little bit too complicated. Is that kind of how you felt at that point?
Yeah. Around move 19, move 20, I knew that I knew I had to move my horse up to the b6 square earlier, but I also knew that would leave the e3 square vulnerable to free that f3 rabbit. And I knew that could be a problem. So it was very tense the whole way. I had to keep thinking long term to think where I wanted all the pieces, but around move 20, that's where I started to get unsure of where things should be, because let me take a look here. It was on move 21 that I moved my elephant to e5, and I wanted to prevent the camel from taking my horse, so I pulled the rabbit down to c6, and I tried to clog everything up while I was trying to save my position. I think I was just going to say, I think my big mistake was a few moves later when, I think it was move 20, I think my mistake was on move 25. I think I had to push, no, I guess that wouldn't have worked. I was thinking of flipping the rabbit out of the trap square, but I guess he would have just moved another rabbit in his place, so that wouldn't have helped. It was getting difficult by move 25. Somewhere between move 20 and 25, I lost my way there. It was a tough game.
Around 25, I was thinking you might try to get your camel freed up there and put the camel on f4 and get a rabbit over to g3, but
yeah, I wanted to do that for a long time, but it was 5 steps to get my h1 rabbit to g3 and my camel to f4, and I never quite got my way. I think maybe what I also could have done was maybe push the rabbit to f4 with my cat and then put a rabbit on from e2 to e3 on 25g. Maybe that was a better move too. I shouldn't have let the dog hit the f4 square. That was one of my biggest mistakes there.
Yeah, we were talking about that, how, silver was probably trying to get something on f4 just to, create a problem on the east wing, and then suddenly your elephant would be overloaded with having to cover both sides of the board.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I saw that threat coming for a long, long time, and I knew that when it started to come I'd be in trouble, but yeah, still, looking back at the position, I guess my mistake, I should have used my cat to push the rabbit up to f4. I think as long as I kept a piece on f3, I might have been okay there. And I was hoping that I could maybe threaten the camel and the horse in the west to offset the danger I had in the east, but I never got that to work.
It would have taken a very long time, I think, to get your elephant over to where it could have been effective against that camel.
Right.
I noticed around move 30 and on that it seemed like you abandoned your cat. How are you going to convince cats to play with you in the future?
Yeah, I kind of got desperate somewhere around move 27, 28. My position was kind of falling apart there. Yeah, I don't know if I even could have saved that cat.
That cat, we said it was toast.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my other mistake too is my move 31. I tried to save my rabbit, forgetting that dog was still mobile on f5. It was tough though. Very difficult game. I think I finally got a good idea towards the end, just trying to counterattack against c6 there. After I had lost so many pieces, I was far behind. I think just trying to attack and then around the c6 trap was my best chance. It was just a little too slow there.
Yeah, I don't think we saw any other opportunity for you. Fritz played a one of his gems of a control game. He really didn't seem to give you a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, right. Once the dog hit F4, I think I was toast after that. It was too hard to fight on and he always seemed to have after that point, with his camel on B3 and his rabbit on C3, I couldn't fight back against his camel, and my elephant had to do too many things. Once Fritzlein got the F4 dog and the C3 rabbit, I don't think I had any chance anymore. He played a really good game controlling the whole board.
Thanks. This is Fritz.
Hello. Congratulations.
Thanks for all the nice comments.
Yeah, congratulations, yeah.
Congratulations, Karl. I'm just wondering, did you think that you had the game under control the whole way, or was it sort of out of control?
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here. I did not feel that I had the game under control at all. I actually felt that I was at best even once the horse trade happened. I didn't anticipate have to trade horses when I charged with my horse up the middle the first time. And then getting only a horse trade out of that, okay, I'm up a rabbit, but the rabbit is framed. And then with Adanac's elephant horse attack on the opposite trap, I felt that my only choice was a bonsai charge. If I abandon my rabbit, then it's even material, but I'm positionally down. So I can't abandon my rabbit, and if I charge to try to save my rabbit, then the game gets out of control and wild, and it gets into the type of position that Adanac plays very well. And I actually was not liking my chances.
One of the moves that I thought was really good was around move 20, when you, in the face of an EH attack against you, you discovered that you could push that horse up the D file. It seemed like the turning point of the game.
Let me look at move 20 here. Wow, so the move 20S that you're referring to, when I got my horse there, pulled off the cat, and got the rabbit off the trap, I almost didn't play that. I had a long think on that move, and had another move on the board. I didn't think that the attack would work, and I just played it because I was running out of time. That's move 20S. And I think that Adanac's 21G is a critical mistake. I think I was in big trouble if he just retreats his elephant and horse. Instead, on 21G, Adanac pulled my rabbit into the F6 trap. I think that was a positional mistake. What the position calls for here is for gold to come home and clean house. So at move 20, I was feeling quite desperate. And 21G, the position is extremely complex after 21G, but all of a sudden I have life because I can, on 21S, I can attack the gold horse with my camel. That gives me time, that gives me counter threats, that lets me continue to complicate. So I, right in there, 21, 20, move 20 and 21, I was using a lot of time and feeling bad about my position, and I think that was when Adanac gave me the game from a very nice position he had before then.
If you go back and listen to the commentary, you'll hear that I complimented Adanac on that move for putting a rabbit between the horse and your camel. So hopefully this part of the interview is not being recorded.
Well, sorry, Ned.
Yeah, I agreed with you at the time. It just didn't work out.
So Fritzlein, you've got it so Adanac is now not undefeated. Is there any way that you have a plan to become undefeated?
Yeah, I have my time machine right here.
And what about your emotions after the win? Can you tell us? How do you feel?
I'm really very relieved. I felt unprepared for this game, emotionally unprepared on the board. I didn't have any new opening. I really felt bad about the game from the beginning. When 99 of 9, when Adanac set up with the standard 99 of 9 setup. Wait, did you use the 99 of 9 setup?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought, well, I'm going to respond with how I've responded to the 99 of 9 setup every time. So you surely have an opening novelty prepared. You are ready for this. I am not ready for this. I just didn't feel good about the way it was going, and so my main emotion from winning the game is relief or maybe a little bit of surprise.
Well, Fritzlein, you have handled what I think is the worst question from sports commentators brilliantly. Congratulations for that. You must have known it was coming.
Well, it really came down to who wanted it more there at the end.
Well, in order to be the best, you've got to beat the best, don't you think?
That's right. I really had some momentum there at the end.
You just took it one move at a time, right?
Yeah, but, any given Sunday.
Well, in the chat, in the forum board, you said that I should try to lose this game. I did not try to lose, but I think I got the desired effect, right?
Well, actually, I think it would have probably ended up helping me if I had lost in the finals, unless I get a nice scenario, a somewhat improbable scenario, to where I'm the number 1 seed and you and Chess and Go are the 2 and 3 seeds. Unless that unlikely event occurs, I will be the 2 seed facing Chess and Go as the number 3 seed in the finals, and I would have been better off losing this game. But somehow it's hard to just let go.
Oh, no. You can't play like that. We're too competitive, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mentioned during the game, each of you, boy, that player really wants to win this game.
I think I was playing for the win. I made the best moves I could, even though a lot of times I was hesitating and uncertain, and the position was crazy.
Well, I guess I'm out of material here. What about you, Omar?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop the recording here pretty soon too. Just want to congratulate the players for an excellent game, and looking forward to the finals now.
Hey, thanks,
So
Omar.
am I. Thanks, Omar.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Good night.
And we're off the air?